Welcome to Spiritual Dialogue with Father Odon de Castro. I'm your host, Brother Lodi, and with us, Sister Tachi. And we give you now Father Odon. Father?
So in our last discussion, we were talking about dubia, which is the most important issue that is being discussed in the Catholic Church today. Our problem is that very few people know about the dubia, and our bishops, majority of them, do not realize the importance of discussing the dubia. Now, the dubia is a canonical procedure in the Catholic Church by which the cardinals is trying to correct a pope who is guilty or is under suspicion of heresy. So it's something very serious.
Yes, Father.
Because the pope is under suspicion of heresy. And so the cardinal would send him a letter, and the letter has been sent already 580 days ago, so it's a long time. And the Pope has not answered it. Now the point is, as long as the Pope has not answered it, we cannot declare him a heretic. We cannot. In which case, we have to work on the assumption that he is Pope, but there is the danger that since he is under suspicion of heresy, if he does not answer the dubia properly, then he will be declared a heretic and he would cease to be a pope. He has to stop being a pope.
Yes, Father.
They will demand that he gives up the papacy or resign the papacy. So this is very important for the Catholic Church.
Yes, Father.
Because this entails the very head of the Catholic Church, which is the Pope. Now, since the Pope has not answered the dubia, we cannot call him a heretic, not yet, because he has to answer.
But can we not analyze the dubia and form an idea of the meaning of the dubias that was written?
We can. In fact, we can answer the dubia. In fact, I asked the two of you the questions involved in the dubia, and you gave an answer within 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you gave the right answer. The right answer is that adulterers cannot receive Holy Communion and they cannot remarry. That's the correct answer.
Yes, Father.
Now, the Holy Father, Pope Francis, is saying the opposite. He is saying that persons who are remarried or are committing adultery and remarries are not in the state of mortal sin and therefore can receive Holy Communion. Now that is a heresy. And so the dubia sent by the cardinals to the Pope is asking him, what is your answer?
Until now, no response from
and there
the
is
Pope.
no answer, no response yet from the Holy Father. But like you were saying, Brother Lodi, we know the answer. Even a high school student in a Catholic school know the answer. That as long as you are committing adultery, you cannot receive Holy Communion. And if your spouse is still alive, you cannot remarry unless you get a dispensation. That's the correct answer.
Yeah, that's a Catholic doctrine.
That's Catholic teaching. In which case, for most of us, we know that what the Pope had written in Amoris Laetitia, which is his apostolic exhortation, is heretical. But out of courtesy to him, the cardinals have asked him to give his answer again. He has given already his answer. It's written down in Amoris Laetitia. But out of courtesy, they're asking the Pope to again give us his answer.
Maybe further explanation of the meaning of his statement?
Not even that, just the meaning of his statement.
Father, can I ask a question? Because
Yeah.
you can receive communion And I think the word that you said the other time was worthily. It cannot be worthily. Because you can be a sacrilege and then go, isn't that it, Father? Many people they're in adulterous relationships, receive communion, but not worthily.
Yeah, that's why the question is, what is the doctrine of the Catholic Church?
Okay, Father.
So the doctrine of the Catholic Church is not that if you receive communion, you can receive unworthily. That's not the
It
doctrine of
cannot
the
be, no?
Catholic Church.
It cannot be at all, di ba? Okay.
The teaching of the Catholic Church is you must be worthy in receiving Holy Communion.
Okay,
Receiving Holy Communion, you have to be in a state of grace.
In
Yes.
state of grace,
Okay,
yeah.
Father, okay.
So the Pope has not answered yet. So we cannot declare him a heretic. Though, as you said, Brother Lodi, from his very words, he seems to be heretical. In fact, Pope Francis has been saying many other things which are heretical. Like recently, he said there is no hell. Now, that is heretical.
Yes, Father.
He had also said that atheists go to heaven. That is also heretical. That you don't have to be a Catholic to go to heaven is also heretical. So he had said many other things which are heretical, but it's not written down. So we cannot face him and prove that he is heretical because there is not a document by which we can prove it. It's not written down,
But this is.
only said.
Yes,
in
Father.
word. But in Amoris Laetitia, it's written down. And everybody can read it, everybody can see it, it's there, it's heretical. Now, like I said, by the mere fact he said those things, and obviously they are heretical, therefore he's guilty of heresy, and he cannot remain as a pope. Because heresy is an impediment in becoming a pope. You cannot be a pope and a heretic at the same time. Now, since the cardinals gave a dubia, which is a last chance, for him to state really whether that's what he meant in Amoris Laetitia or not, they are withholding the sentence of heresy. Though obviously it is heretical already. Out of courtesy, remember?
Yes,
This is
Father.
merely out of courtesy. But the trouble is, most of the bishops are already siding with Pope Francis and saying that what he said is right.
My God.
In other words, some bishops are already saying that those who have their spouse still alive and separated from them can remarry, and that they can receive Holy Communion. So some bishops are already committing heresy ahead of Pope Francis. Though, of course, both of them are committing heresy at the same time, you know.
Would you say, Father, that if they apply it in their dioceses,
They are applying it already.
they are?
In many South American countries, some bishops are applying it in their diocese. In many American dioceses, they are applying it already, allowing adulterous person to receive Holy Communion, and for married people with living spouse to remarry, they're allowing it. And in the Philippines, it is being introduced.
Also.
How many bishops have already adopted it? We don't know. But we know that majority of the bishops in the CBCP, as can be seen in their last meeting in Cebu City, believe that what Pope Francis wrote in Amoris Laetitia is correct, when actually it is heretical. So in other words, majority of our Catholic bishops would be heretics, and therefore they cannot be the bishops of their diocese.
If that is the case, Father, that could be the reason why some Catholic, who is a learned Catholic, who learned about the doctrine, shy away from the faith, from the Catholic faith.
Well, That's actually an entirely different story.
Okay, Father.
Most of the Catholics leave the Catholic Church and join other sects because of their ignorance of the Catholic faith. Ignorance. And they're ignorant because their bishops and their parish priests have not taught them very well. You can even read it in the history of the Catholic Church, Brother Lodi, by McSorley. That's the history of the Catholic Church textbook used in the seminaries. That when the Philippines was evangelized, we were not well evangelized.
I see.
So, in other words, the Catholics of the Philippines are not really very good Catholics because we were not well trained, we were not well taught. But as you see, with bishops like that, who are siding with the heresy of the Pope, what do you expect the laymen to become?
Yes, they will be misled into believing a wrong teaching.
Well, they are not being misled. They are already adopting wrong teachings because nga of the bad training.
But Father, even from youth, in schools, in Catholic schools, that's clear. Adultery is wrong.
That's the point. Even though the Catholics are very badly trained,
Yeah, that was
at least everybody knows
clear.
that.
That's clear.
Everybody knows that.
So for us to change the doctrine is already clearly, is that what you say? It's heretical? Because you've changed the doctrine. Is that it? Is that what makes it?
Well, the saving grace of the Catholic layman in the Philippines is because of their ignorance, which is you call invincible ignorance. They are not at fault. They are not at fault. So they are not very guilty of their ignorance. But when it's bishops and priests who commit a mistake, well, that is inexcusable ignorance because they study in the seminary. They can study further their theology. How come they're committing heresies? Especially the fact that there is a standing dubia, which they should check before they vote. In fact, in the last meeting of the CBCP, the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines in Cebu, they even voted, and majority of them voted in favor of the heresy of Pope Francis, which is written down in Amoris Laetitia, which is the object of the dubia right now. They should have waited for the result of the dubia. They should have not voted that time.
What would be the reason, Father,
Reason for
voting with the Pope? Because they believe the Pope?
well,
Or they want to bring everybody to hell?
this is always a public relations gimmick, When you want to please somebody because you want favors from them, you want promotions, probably you want a good office, you're going to follow what they say. We have some favorite names for that, but it's in Tagalog, so others will not understand it.
Yes, yes.
But they're going to be like lap dogs, they call it, just doing what the Pope says in order to get promotions and favors from the Pope.
So would you say that it's not that they all do not really believe? They do not agree. In their minds they know it and they're just doing?
Well, that's worse.
Yeah.
If they believe that's a heresy
And then they're still doing
and
it.
still they do it, that makes it worse. They're guiltier of heresy.
Yeah. Okay, Father. Then you are in his diocese of one of these bishops. I don't have to follow what he says.
You don't have to follow, otherwise your whole diocese would be a Protestant diocese. Or your parish could be a Protestant parish if your bishop or your parish priest side with the heretical teachings of a pope. Because in that case, he is not a true pope if he teaches a heresy, because a pope cannot commit heresy. He's supposed to be infallible in teaching the truths. So how come he's now teaching something that is wrong? Which means he is not infallible, and that cannot be a pope.
Father, last minute, please. Any statement?
And so that is the big problem we are trying to solve. It is a very important issue because everybody is involved. In other words, we are supposed to believe in the Pope and we are supposed to follow the Pope and we are supposed to love the Pope, and the papacy is the very foundation of the Catholic Church. We have to make sure that our Pope is a true Pope. And because of the dubium, there is a standing statement that he could be in danger of heresy, and in which case he cannot be the Pope.
Thank you for being with us here at the Spiritual Dialogue with Father Don De Castro. Next time, Father Don will continue discussing about the issue. Thank you so much.
Hosanna, Hosanna.